Hey guys, welcome to Captain Fizz and Can we rewind that? Nope, we can't. Okay, welcome to the Captain Fizz and Mask Guys show. Hey, shut up. We were gone last week because someone ended up, having a medical emergency.
Jupiter.
Yeah, we're gonna go with Jupiter. So we are back. It's great. Thank you for everyone who actually listened to the episodes that we re-recorded or
re-released for your viewing pleasure.
Thank you. I'm really mucked up today, and that is fine. So we are going to be talking about women in film and television, and and yeah, that's it. So hit the damn music.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Captain Fizz and Mask Guys show. I, of course, am Captain Fizz.
And greetings once again from the Seventh Moon of Thunder, and I actually got that part out, right,
It's a miracle!
It's a miracle! It's that Mask Guy. How y'all doing?
So, yes, last week we were not on the air, and I almost mucked that up. This is going to be a muck-up show.
It's a total muck-up.
So your radio or your ears were not deaf last week. We actually did not have a show. I was going through medical issues involving my shoulder. I am slightly feeling better to the point that I am still alive. So we'll count that as a blessing. So there's that good news. We also both went to go see Wonder Woman, which we will discuss a little bit, as well as discussing so many more very strong women in TV and film that we've been able to watch over the years. I'm really messing up words tonight.
Yeah, you are. Congratulations. You deserve a cookie.
Yes, I deserve cookie. Unfortunately, the hospital's never had cookies. And yes, Amy, I am okay. I've gone through what we Canadians call an average day with medical, and that's where you spend more than a day looking at multiple different doctors to figure out if any of them actually agree on any one thing. I've determined they don't. I've gone to 4 or 5 different doctors over the course of a week to 2 weeks. They have all said different things, not agreed on a single thing, and yes, we do supposedly have a free healthcare, but they hide that in taxes and whatnot, and the 8-hour long wait to see a doctor, which is absolutely wonderful. I enjoy every minute of it.
I will say that because of my son's health issues, that if we didn't have the medical system that we did, we would be living in my parents' basement, because we would have went bankrupt paying all the medical bills just for the first 4 months of his life.
There definitely is some blessings to it, but I think even you can admit that the too many cooks in the kitchen, so to speak.
Oh God, I've had my own set of stuff with being misdiagnosed and having to go through several issues, not just with the pneumonia, but also some issues I was having with my nose years ago. And our medical system is wonderful. And maybe someday I'll sit down and kind of bitch and moan and gripe about some of the stuff that I've had to go through, but not today. Not that night.
So I actually had the pleasure this last weekend, even with my shoulder injury, to participate in the Manitoba Marathon, which is a very long marathon up here in Winnipeg. It's extremely grueling, exhausting, frustrating, and very, very rewarding. I believe the rewards go for mental health, if I'm not mistaken.
Everything goes towards people with intellectual disabilities.
Thank you. So we, my nephew, Bubbles' son, and myself, we both ran the 10K. Now, we both successfully succeeded in beating last year's time. We actually ran 10 kilometers in roughly an hour and 15 minutes last year. We managed to squeeze that down to an hour and 11 minutes this year. So definitely, even with the shoulder injury and so much else going on, that we still managed to beat last year's time and not die. The not dying part was definitely the goal of the day. So that was definitely rewarding, and I got to knock one thing off my bucket list, which was doing a grass angel in the end zone of a football field. Sorry, a professional football field. So I was...
Okay, it's Canadian football, which...
It still counts.
Which, I mean, we will argue that Canadian football is better than American football. You Americans obviously will disagree with us.
Yes, and actually the reason, Amy, that we were not able to do a show in the middle of this was actually because that night I was actually taken to the hospital due to complications with my neck that were actually causing extreme nausea, as well as other symptoms that were extremely uncomfortable and very, at that time, terrifying to myself because of what was going on. So that was the only reason we did not do the show, because my personal health at the time was more important, and will generally continue to be more important than most things until I die, which hopefully will not be until I turn into a robot and take over the world.
You're not allowed to die until at least 10 years after I have.
Okay, well, fair enough. We'll agree on that. No, you do not have to put me in a full body cast, but you do have to probably wrap me in bubble wrap and never let me see the light of day again. Just make sure there's cookies, Dr. Pepper, and the occasional coffee, and I think I'll be happy. And lots of Harley Quinn.
You can't go off and you can't not do Harley Quinn. So
that has been our week. We've also been doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff. I've been doing a lot of drawing because I find it very relaxing and whatnot. So definitely been working on some things, and a lot of this ties in with the fact that we're going to be at Entercon in August. So definitely we're working on a few things behind the scenes, which is entertaining. And then of course we saw Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I mean, the movie, we were gonna sort of talk about this last week while having Weem on, because that was kind of my plan. My plan last week, before you went off and got all hurt on me and everything, was to have Weem join us on the show and just talks about stuff,
And Weem, we definitely have to continue that another day, because we look forward to have you on our show all to ourselves.
Yes, indeed.
And I stroked my beard while saying that, just so you know, Weem. So you know
it's
you're
very maniacally like.
So you know you're special.
Blah.
So there's a lot of things that have come down with this movie. It definitely blew expectations.
It did, but I'm going to come right out and say that I didn't like it.
There definitely was some flaws, and I think the main flaw I had was actually the Amazonian part. When they were in the kingdom before before they
have
discovered.
Have you actually read any of the Wonder Woman comics?
I have,
and so have I, and I had no issue with that.
My issue was the fact of the drastic change between the two, of a very slow, like the storytelling and the dialogue were very boring to me. And this may have been the pain in my neck and whatnot that I was going through, but it made me very difficult to sit through and actually pay attention to it, because it was not exciting to me. It was not something I really cared about, so to speak.
I'll say this about DC. DC seems to be much more story oriented than Marvel is, and trying to put together these really great stories, and that largely has to do a lot with Zack Snyder's vision for the whole Justice League, DC, movie universe.
And I'm not taking anything from the genius that is Zack Snyder. I am starting to wonder if he doesn't have as much control on these movies as we like to think.
I have no idea. I tend to think maybe he's had too much. I mean, don't get me wrong, Zack Snyder is a genius, but I mean, you oftentimes you need to go off and you need to curb your genius. And I brought this up several weeks ago. James Gunn, when he wrote the original Guardians of the Galaxy, he was afraid he was going to put too much of his own genius into the movie. And then he had Josh Whedon go off and look at it. And Whedon told him, no, you need to put more of James Gunn into it. I have a feeling that we're seeing too much Zack Snyder in these movies. And I know he's not responsible for a lot of the stuff with Wonder Woman. But, I mean, he's kind of been the glue that has held everything, currently that we have in the DC Cinematic Universe together. And, I mean, again, my condolences to his family and everything that they are currently going through. So I'm not personally attacking them. I'm just saying that I have a feeling that the reason why Wonder Woman came out the way it was has large to do because what we saw in Batman versus Superman. Yes, I'm going to go versus. I don't care if it's...
See, my biggest issue isn't Zack Snyder himself. And you and I have discussed this multiple times before. I feel like the entire DC universe is very rushed. I feel like they've let things go for so long, letting Marvel have this huge advantage over everything, and now they're playing catch up, and I feel like they're rushing their movies, rushing their storylines, rushing everything.
And a lot of that, though, has to go back to the developmental hell that some of these characters, have been in. I mean, Superman. I mean, it was such a long period of time between the Superman films, even Superman Returns and The Man of Steel. And that just tells you, how much developmental hell was there. And don't even get me started on Wonder Woman. They've been trying for the better part of 20 years to make a Wonder Woman movie, and they have utterly failed outside of, doing like cartoons.
And I completely agree. As I said, I don't think this is one actor, or director's fault. I think this is DC as a whole has really dropped the ball on the character development leading up to all this. Wonder Woman, there was so much potential.
There was absolutely, and I will say this. There was a lot of stuff that was a part of it that I liked. I liked, the action. Action was good in there. There was...
To a point, there were some parts of the action that were very grainy, flawed, and made absolutely no sense.
And I would go off and I would argue it with you, and with the sole problem that we're talking about a movie that it's now almost 2 weeks, since I went off and saw it, so I don't have it as fresh in my mind to be able to go off and argue with you on this. I will say, though, for me, it wasn't so much the story, because there was stuff that in the story that I enjoyed, and the relationship that Wonder Woman Diane had with some of the supporting cast was great. It just, to me, it felt like it dragged at times. Even as we were getting into, even some of the action scenes felt like they were dragged out. And despite the fact that I was like, ooh, that was pretty cool. It's several years ago I went off and I saw this thing where Eddie Murphy was being interviewed. And he talks about how he will oftentimes, you'll see something that's funny and he won't laugh, but that's funny. And that's kind of how I felt. There was like stuff that was pretty cool. And like, I didn't have like a physical reaction, but it's like, oh, that's cool. And that's kind of the way I felt about this, but I walked away dissatisfied, and I'm not quite sure. I can't really put my finger onto what, left me there, because this was a movie that was received better by critics than the last two DC movies have. And so I was going into this with, high expectations